Hello, my name's Jessica Flowers. Welcome to Smell the Flowers Yoga. Today I have a Yin Yoga practice for you. We'll be staying on the ground for Yin Yoga. It's a slower practice. We'll come into the poses generally and stay there for 2 to 3 minutes. You may want some extra supports for your Yin practice. One would be a blanket as I'm sitting on here, or a nice thick towel. We will be doing some poses on our knees where that extra padding could be nice for under your knees, or it's just nice to sit on a blanket sometimes. I also recommend having a couple of blocks if you have these, or something else that you'll be able to have your hands up a little bit higher as we come into a low lunge a little bit later. And we'll be doing some stretches for our legs today as well, where a strap may be helpful for that, or a belt, something that you'll be able to put over the ball of your foot as you're lying on your back, and want to be able to reach both ends of that strap or belt with your hands. If you don't have something like that, I'll also show you how you can just use your hands behind your thigh to support there. So just take a moment, go gather any supports that you might want for your practice, and then we'll get started in just a minute or two. Today's practice will be continuing along the theme of working with the chakras. I have recently created a video for about an hour-long flow class with a bit more movement if you want to focus on using your breath to open and expand and draw energy into your different chakra centers. And also there's a recording of a Yoga Nidra practice that will take you through a chakra visualization. So you may want to check those out as well. I particularly think this Yin practice would be nice to then follow up with the Nidra practice. So we'll just get started. In case you aren't too familiar or you haven't watched particularly the flow video, I go through this a bit. But your chakras are this energy system, and we have different energy centers kind of situated along the center of our body. I'll just really simplify it for today. It's a very complex system. I'm just going to put it out there that if this is something that doesn't mesh with you, this can still be a really nice practice for you to do. So just as always, take what you need and leave what you don't. So just to think about how these chakra centers are throughout our body, you may think about a project or something that you are wanting to kind of shift in your life. And you may think about that as like planting this seed in this lower area of your energy centers, your root chakra. Like, what do you want to plant the seed and grow down roots? And this is also the area of our body where that creation first happens. So you can think of it that way as well. And then a little bit further up in the body, we have our area of digestion and transformation, really. So you can think of that seed, if you will, planting its roots, maybe growing a little bit more. And then higher up, you have your heart. So this is where maybe that thought or idea begins to blossom and really start to take shape. And connecting with the heart is where you might just check in and make sure this idea, what it is that you're wanting to create, is coming from a place of love and compassion. A little bit further up, we have our throat center. And this is, you may think about this in terms of communication. And maybe you're struggling with communicating about this idea, sharing it with others so you might get support and encouragement. And then a little bit further up is your third eye center, between your eyebrows here, where your center of intuition. You can think of this also as your imagination, just allowing for that imagination and intuition to help guide you in this process. And then finally, at your top, you have your crown. And this is where you can think of connecting to the universe, your higher power, whatever speaks to you in that way, and just letting that idea, that wish, that intention, however you want to think about it, sending that out into the universe so that you can receive this amazing supportive energy back. So that's what you may want to visualize as we go through the different postures that will kind of emphasize these different areas of our body. So we are going to start out on our backs, and you don't really need any props for this particular one. We're just going to lay on back with your knees bent. The soles of your feet are on the mat. Your arms can just rest comfortably at your side. We're really going to just focus on this area of your sacrum, that lower part of your spine that's kind of between the two halves of your pelvis. And we'll start with just doing a movement called the sacral clock. So you can imagine that there's a clock face on your lower abdomen here, and noon is right about up by your belly button, and then 6 o'clock is down by the base of your tailbone. We're just going to start by rocking our pelvis up and down, rocking from noon to 6. Just back and forth, tipping up and in towards noon, and then rolling down your tailbone towards 6. And then we'll bring that movement side to side. You can rock over towards this point of your pelvis as 3, and over towards the other side as 9. So just rocking side to side, 3 to 9. And you're not just rocking your pelvis here. Just notice maybe your knees are rocking a little side to side as well. You don't need to isolate that movement to your pelvis. Just let your body freely move side to side from 3 to 9. And then coming back to center, we'll make that clock go in the clockwise direction. So you can tip up to noon, rock over to 3, down to 6, and then over to 9. We'll make several circles in this direction. And just notice again, let your knees move freely. Movement maybe starting from your pelvis area, but let it move down your legs. A few more circles in this direction. And then we'll reverse and go the other direction. It's a good opportunity to just kind of check in and notice how your back is feeling today. And then just coming back to center. Maybe just soften or close your eyes and see if you can tune into the energy in that sacral area of your body. Your 2 lowest chakras. And then while we're here on our back is a really nice place to do some stretches for the legs. If you have a strap, then you could use that. We'll start with the left leg. You can keep your sole of your right foot on the mat. Just lift your left foot up. You're going to take that strap and just put it over the ball of your foot so you can draw your toes back in towards your shin. If you want, you could explore sending your right leg out long. That might feel like a little too much opening perhaps, or if it feels like you're having to adjust your body to an uncomfortable position to support that, then just keep your right foot on the ground, your knee up towards the ceiling for a little more stability. Take a few more breaths here, just with the legs straight up from the hip. Feel that lengthening through the back of your leg. And then we're going to make a subtle adjustment here, just letting the leg come across the center of your body, bringing the sensation more to the outside edge of the leg. It doesn't have to be a big movement across the center, just 3-4 inches, maybe at most, the width of your foot. Take a few more breaths here. And then bring your foot back across through center and then let it open out to the side. Now you might transfer the strap into your left hand. Your right hand, you might use that to press your right hip down. Just as a reminder, you don't want your right hip lifting up. So that extra added weight might help support it there. Or if you feel more comfortable with your leg, you might have the strap in your right hand. You could bend your left elbow and just bring that left hand under your leg. Just opening as wide as is comfortable, that you can still keep your right hip on the ground. If bringing your leg out really wide is making that right hip lift up, just bring it back in a bit. Take 3 or 4 more rounds of breath here. And bringing that leg back up, you can remove the strap. You're going to hug your left knee in towards your chest. And here, if you haven't sent your right leg out long yet, you could send that right leg out long. Just hug this knee in for maybe 8 or 10 rounds of breath. From here, we're going to come into a twist. You can let your left arm come down to your side. Just take your right hand on your left shin. You're just going to pull that left leg across your body as you roll onto your right side. Now you might take a block or your blanket. You could roll up your blanket and just bring that left leg down to rest on the block. And then you can Walk your shoulders a little bit more over to the right as well. Maybe you bring this left shoulder down to the ground. You might open your arms out to a T. If that left shoulder doesn't come down, you could bend your arm and just bring that left hand to rest on your side. If it's comfortable for your neck, you could turn your face and look over your left shoulder. We'll be here for 2 to 3 minutes, so just make any adjustments to find a little more comfort here. Taking 3 or 4 more rounds of breath here. If you turned your face, you can just turn it back up towards the ceiling and then gently roll back onto your back. You can set that left foot down on the mat and just bring your right foot back in to meet it. We'll get reset here, ready to do the leg stretches with the other side. So finding your strap again. And if you don't have a strap and you send your right foot up this time, you can just clasp your hands behind your thigh and kind of support it that way as well. If you have that strap, you're just going to place it over the ball of your foot, drawing your toes back in towards your shin. Now hopefully if you have a long enough strap, you can just let your arms rest comfortably on the ground. If your strap's a little shorter and you need your arms up, but you don't want your fingers clasping really tight, you might do what I'm doing here, just have your strap twisted around your hands and it'll kind of hold your hands there. You can see I don't have my fingertips, my fingers really gripping that mat. You don't want to be putting that grip into your mat. So hopefully you can find a comfortable, pretty relaxed hold on your strap. Maybe even just letting your arms rest on the ground if your strap is long enough. An option to send your left leg out long. And get a little bit more opening through your hip flexors here on the front of your left leg with that option, but might not be comfortable for everyone, so just if you try it out and doesn't feel right, just bend that leg, set that foot back down. And take a few more breaths here, leg just straight up, toes drawn back in towards your shin. And then we're going to move that right foot a little bit across the midline. You'll feel a little bit more of that opening along the outside edge of your right leg. A few more breaths here. And you're going to draw that right foot back across through center and open to the other side. So, yeah, I'm going to hit the wall here. I got the wall to support my leg. Maybe you do too. If not, you can maybe bend your right elbow. Just bring that right hand under your leg. Got your strap there. You can use your strap to hold the leg in position. And you can wrap the straps maybe around your hands so you don't have to grip quite so tightly. And you could use your left hand this time, just putting a little extra weight on that left hip, reminding it to stay grounded. And that'll help to support that back side of your body, your sacrum, nice and flat on the ground. A few more rounds of breath here. And then bring that right leg back up. You can take the strap off and just set it off to the side. We won't need it anymore. You're going to draw that right knee in towards your chest. Just wrap your arms around, maybe your hands clasp or just rest on top of each other. Your left leg can be sent out long if it's not already. From here, we're going to transition into that twist. So you can let your right arm come down by your side. Your left hand is going to come onto the top of your right shin. You're just going to pull that right leg across your body as you roll onto your left hip. And you can see a little bit easier when I turn to this side how you can bring either a folded blanket, maybe a block and a blanket. If you just have blocks, they're kind of nice. You can adjust the height if you want that medium height or the lower height or even the high height for some people. Might be good. And then you can walk your shoulders a little bit more to the left. See if you can get that right shoulder down towards the ground to a comfortable position. You can open your arms out to a T or keep that right elbow bent. Just have the hand rest on the side of your body. And then if it's comfortable for your neck, you can turn your head in the opposite direction of your bent knee. Just look over to the other side. And then close down your eyes if they're not already. Make any adjustments with your body to find a little more comfort here. knowing that we'll be here for 2 to 3 minutes. About 1 more minute here. Taking 3 or 4 more rounds of breath. And as we prepare to come out of the twist, you can just turn your face back up towards the ceiling. Untwist your right leg. Bring that right foot back down to the mat. You can bring your left foot in to meet it. And then you can lift both feet up off the mat. Bring your knees into the palms of your hands. We'll just do a little gentle Apanasana. As you exhale, draw your knees in. As you inhale, let your knees float back away. We'll just do 5 or 6 rounds here, drawing your knees in and out. And from here, you can just let your knees drop over to one side. Use your hands to press up to seated. If you're feeling like you have a little extra energy, you want to get a little more energy out, you could rock back and forth and then rock up to a seated position. We're eventually going to make our way into tabletop. For hands and knees, you might want a little extra padding under your knees here. So you might bring a blanket or a towel in under your knees. And then just starting to warm up the spine a little bit to the front and back. We're going to do a little cat-cow. So as you exhale, you can tuck your chin in, round your back up towards the ceiling. As you inhale, just drop your belly down, let your tailbone go high, shine your heart forward. As you exhale, you'll tuck that chin back in, your tailbone will tuck under a bit as your spine rounds up. And as you inhale, you'll reverse that with your spine dipping down a bit. Your shoulder blades might come together as you open up through your chest area. And exhale, rounding back up, just going at your own pace. A few more rounds. And then from here, we're going to come into melting heart pose or Anahatasana. You may want to block in under your chest, or you can try without at first. Your hips are going to stay high over your knees. You're just going to come down with your upper body. So you can come down like this. You can see it's a little bit more of a back bend in your upper spine, which doesn't have a lot of room to bend, so it's not a very deep back bend, but you're kind of imagining that coming more between the shoulder blade area rather than in your low back. And then you might stack your arms. You could bring your forehead onto the back of your arms. If you're feeling like this is not comfortable to hang out there, you might bring a block in. Sometimes I like to put that block kind of right under the collarbone area, and then you might feel more comfortable stretching your arms out long, kind of opening more under the armpits. Or you may even bend your elbows, bringing your palms together. And sometimes it's nice to just let the palms come behind the back of the head. Finding what works for you, bringing props in or putting them to the side. Be here for a few minutes, so make any adjustments that you need. About one more minute here. Just 3 or 4 more rounds of breath. If you had your arms behind your head or out long, just bring them back down onto the mat. You can walk your hands back in under your shoulders, coming back to that tabletop position just briefly. Maybe you swish your hips a little from side to side, or do a few cat-cows. And then from here, we're just going to sit back to a child's pose. So just lower your hips towards your heels. If they don't come all the way down towards your heels, you may sit on a block or two, or bring in some other support. Maybe if you have a bolster, you could slide that bolster between your legs or on top of your shins, between your thighs. Sometimes it's nice to have a bolster cushion there, or even another blanket you could roll up and set in there. Your upper body you're going to bring down in front. You might take your knees a little bit wider just to create a little bit more space to come down. You can stretch your arms out long in front.
If your forehead doesn't come down to the mat, maybe you bring a block in and just bring your forehead down onto the block. And you want your forehead making connection somewhere here, so we can kind of put a little pressure on that third eye point between the eyebrows. You can just rock your head a little from side to side, being open to that center of intuition. Just noticing whatever comes up for you when you focus your attention there. Whatever it is, just see if you can receive that vision, that message without judgment. Just being curious. A few more rounds of breath here. You can send a little more energy to your hands, kind of gripping into the mat. Just lift your hips back up. And bring your knees back in. If you had taken them a little wider, your hands can come back in under your shoulders. And we're going to do a version of rabbit pose here, nice and supported. You're just going to keep your hands here on either side of your head as you bring it down. For a rabbit pose, we're going to be setting the top of the head down onto the mat, or maybe onto a block if that's not comfortable to bring your head all the way down. You're just going to tuck your chin in, bend your elbows a little bit, but your hands are there to kind of help support you, keep you from putting too much pressure on your head. But once you have your top of your head down, you can just kind of rock gently. Really small movement forward and back. Just opening up that energy around your crown chakra. And then you can sit back, just gently come up a little bit. We'll do that a few more times if it's all right. If you don't like the experience of that, you could just sit back into a child's pose again. If you'd like to do rabbit pose again, you can just come up and then tuck your chin in, set the top of your head down, bending your elbows back. And just gently rocking forward and back. A few more breaths. And then setting your hips back, slowly coming back up. A few breaths here. And then once more, bringing your hips over your heels, hands just starting under your shoulders. You begin to bend into your elbows as you tuck your chin in, bringing the top of your head down onto the mat. Your hips stay up high over your knees. And maybe you just bring a little gentle rocking